The act of deliverance, by necessity, requires a process of deliverance. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2 of the special readings pertaining to Pesach or Passover. Continuing with our Passover theme, let's understand that every man, woman, and child who came out of Mitzrayim by the mighty delivering hand of Yahweh, they were gathered on the night of Pesach inside a home that had the lintel and doorposts stained with blood. Those who came out of Mitzrayim survived because they had obeyed. Now, this is not something that they'd ever done before. It's not something that they learned from their parents or grandparents. This was a new command, something totally new to them. Moshe told them what to do, and they simply did it. Their actions of obedience was rewarded the next morning with the floodgates opened and a get out of Mitzrayim free card. Out they went, rank and file, marching, celebrating, perhaps singing and dancing on their way to freedom. And their minds were going to take a short trip. We're going to walk a few days, and then we're going to come to this land that has been preached to us about being filled with milk and honey. And everything is going to be great. Our adversaries in the land, they're going to pack up and leave once they see us coming and say, oh, we're sorry, here's your land. None of that ever really came to pass. They had to go through an extended, lengthy process that nearly panicked into the place of falling completely apart once they reached the Red Sea. Yah miraculously brought them across, destroyed Pharaoh in the process, left them having camp meeting on the other side, only a few days later to be grumbling and complaining about unfit water or dying of thirst or dying of hunger or one complaint after the other, finding themselves in a lengthy process of 40 years instead of a few days. The process of deliverance. The action of deliverance is powerful, life-changing, momentous. It can be overwhelming. I've been in those circumstances where someone was literally possessed of the devil. Believe it or not, argue about it theologically or not, however you want to address that, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've heard this stuff with my own ears. I stood there, I watched. I was part of those that prayed and saw and heard the demons leave and the person physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually be completely different just in a moment of deliverance. Sad to say, not everyone who went through that experience was willing to follow through on that experience in the process of deliverance. Look what the book of Matthew, chapter number 12 says. Yeshua said in verse 43, now when the unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places seeking rest and finds none. Then it says, I shall return to my house from which I came. And when it comes, it finds it empty, swept, and decorated. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they enter and dwell there, and the last of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation. Being set free, having a momentous occasion of being delivered, of being healed, of having your mind cleared and the fog bank to lift. To have a habitual sin pattern broken off of you, a generational curse that has manifested itself generation after generation after generation, and you realize if I don't do something, that this is going to show up in my kids and my grandkids. And you go through whatever process or every moment of deliverance is necessary to see it stop. You have to be willing to walk it out. Israel's experience in the wilderness exemplifies for us what it takes in order to successfully be delivered and then live it out. What we're talking about then is a lifestyle of chosen obedience. Sadly, the entire first generation of those that came out, with the exception of 2 men, all perished in the wilderness because of an ongoing system of disobedience, stiff-necked mindsets, and hardness of heart. There were those that did magnificent works of obedience, only to die in the wilderness. There were those who were there on that first night of Pesach. There were those that were on the second night of Pesach, the second experience a year later in the wilderness. There were those that were craftsmen that built the tabernacle. There were those that saw the glory of Elohim and heard his voice, and they didn't make it. They didn't enter in. Because at some point they grumbled, complained, and chose to disobey and not trust Yah. Yeshua addressed a man in Yochanan, John chapter number 5. And it says in verse 5, and a certain man was there who had had a sickness 38 years. When Yeshua saw him lying there, and knowing that he already had been there a long time, he said to him, do you wish to become well? That's a question all of us have to answer. In 38 years, he had finally, I suppose, figured out, I'm crippled, I'm lame, I have to beg for a living. Yeshua asked him, do you want to be well? Well, of course I want to be well. Really? Are you willing to give up the lifestyle and the existence that you've had for 38 years to live a different life? Now the man complained, I don't have anybody to put me in the water when the waters are troubled. Yeshua looked at him and said, rise, take up your bed and walk. You do something decisive. Get up and change your manner of living. I will heal you. I will deliver you. I will break this off of you, but you then must choose to do differently. Pesach is about deliverance. It's about being redeemed. Once a man or a woman has become born again and the Spirit of Yah resides within them, they have every tool and every ability, all the grace, all the mercy, all the power that they need in the power or the person of Yeshua, our Messiah, to live a different life. Many, perhaps, I have seen, they've come down to an altar of prayer, they've wept, they've cried, they've repented, they've acknowledged their sins, they've prayed this come live inside me style prayer, I want to change my life. And maybe they'll attend for a little while and worship together with you, and they'll have an initial effort of learning to walk uprightly. They'll get mad and blow off steam of a situation and throw up their hands and quit. Somebody will say something to them. Old friends will show up. Old habits will prevail. Some situation will come, and they reason within themselves, it didn't take, therefore I just quit. The process of deliverance, the process of redemption is an act of ongoing obedience. Every one of us, all of us, have had our failures, and perhaps a long list of them. But the mercy of Elohim is still available. The grace of our great Elohim is still empowering those who choose to walk in it and to be redeemed. If you've been delivered, be delivered. If you've been redeemed, then be redeemed. Walking out. Choose every day, I am a delivered man or woman. I am redeemed by the blood of Messiah Yeshua. A Pesach lamb has been given in my behalf. I'm free, and I choose to be free. More tomorrow. Till then, shalom.